Guys, we are live. This right here is the real Heisenberg. So I just want to start off by saying hello, everybody that's in the stream. We're gonna do some interview questions first, and then maybe hop into discussing some of the issues. So, what's your name? How old are you, and where are you from?
I'm not getting my real name. I'm the real Heisenberg. I'm 42. I'm from New York. I'm about an hour south of Niagara Falls.
Okay, so what made you so interested in politics?
Well, I've always been interested in politics. Ever since I went to college. That's not true. I joined the Navy at 18. I really didn't give a hoot. I voted, but I didn't care. Do you know what I mean? And then it wasn't until I joined, I got into college and I started taking political science classes, and I'm like, you know what? This is fun. This is my favorite sport.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So, what made you start posting political content on TikTok?
Because it caught traction.
Fair enough.
I mean, I post what catches, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
If people stopped watching my political stuff, I'd find something else to post.
Fair enough. So would you say that your political views align sort of far left, liberal, moderate, or conservative?
I make Bernie Sanders look like a Republican.
Fair enough.
Yeah, my camera's shit. I know. It's a crappy HP laptop. I'm sorry. I said shit on your stream.
But... No, it's all good. I don't care. It's not advertised as a kid stream, so we shouldn't be
brilliant. Yeah, it's garbage. I have an HP laptop. I mean, what do you want?
Yeah. So out of all the 2020 presidential candidates, who do you support and why?
Well, I support Bernie Sanders, but he's not a candidate anymore.
He didn't drop out fully.
No, he suspended his campaign.
Wait, as of when? I didn't see that anywhere.
Let me hold on. Sorry, just Googling.
Bernie. Oh yeah. Well, he deactivated the Facebook ads, but he didn't fully suspend his campaign yet. That's all he's done.
Oh, I see. Yeah. He deactivated ads.
Yeah. So I mean, he's gonna drop out eventually.
Right.
So out of all of Bernie Sanders' policies, which is your favorite and why?
Well, I think Medicare for all and $15 minimum wage, especially now. When we see our economy is crashing and people are out of work, millions of people are out of work now because they can't go to work. Tying insurance and tying healthcare to labor isn't working because there's millions of people out of work, and these people working at the McDonald's and at the supermarket trying to keep the shelves stocked. They're literally the heroes right now, and they're making $8.
We can get it. We can get into that later. So, we can get into debating those specific issues later. I'm sure somebody will just bring that up in the comments. So, what is one thing that you like about the political party that opposes your views?
Well, I assume you mean Trump.
I'm saying
representative of the party right now.
Well, yeah, I'm saying one thing throughout the last 5 years that the Republican Party tends to align their views with, that you may align your views with, and differ from the Democratic Party, which is the party that currently aligns with your views the most.
Well, I am all about free speech, even free speech that I don't like. Yes, I agree hate speech is a thing, but we also ought not to ban it.
Fair enough.
If I'm queer, but if you were to call me, that word,
can you explain what that means? Because I've never understood what I've never understood what that actually means.
What?
Queer,
queer is just an umbrella term. I mean, for me personally, it's just an umbrella term. I'm pansexual. Pansexual just means you can be attracted to a man, a woman, a trans man, a trans woman. It really doesn't matter about the physicality of their body. It's more, who they are. Do I have a connection with you? Or
fair enough.
But I mean, queer for me, in my opinion, is just an umbrella term to encompass all of it.
Okay.
But if someone were to call me, the F word, I don't think they should be stopped from doing it legally.
Yeah.
I mean, they should have. I mean, I don't like it. I mean,
for sure.
But I don't think they should be legally punished for doing it.
Yeah, I agree with you. So, what is one thing that you disagree with Bernie Sanders on?
He's very pro-Israel, and I'm not.
How come? If I may ask.
How come he's pro-Israel? How come I'm not?
How come you're not? If I may ask.
Well, because they're occupying Palestine.
Palestine doesn't exist.
Well, neither does Israel.
Yeah, it does. It's on a map.
Palestine's not on the map.
No,
Israel
is on the map.
Palestine was on the map before 1942.
Right, but Israel's been on the map for like the
Since
last 80 years.
1942. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. And by we, I mean the United States, displaced an entire nation to give another nation that didn't exist land that they believed was granted to them by God.
Well, no, it's because a lot of that also was because the Palestinians were basically committing genocide against the Jewish people that were in that area too. I mean, that's also a big part of it.
Right. Look up the 8 Days War.
No, I have. I mean, like I know a lot about that because, like,
Right.
I mean, I've researched this stuff a lot. I'm sure.
Now, if Israel, like if the Jewish people were to have had that war all by themselves, and they were to win and then take the land by themselves, there's your land. But they didn't. We did it.
Fair enough.
America put its hand and said, "Ha ha ha! We're super strong, and we're gonna force this here." Just like,
well, because they were committing genocide against the Jews. I think that.
Right, but why is that our business?
I think that, well, I guess that might just be where me and you differ in views. I think that part of our job as the most powerful military in the world is to prevent genocide and stuff like that against other people. I mean, that just might be where me and you differ on our views.
Right. I am very, I would take it back pre-FDR, pre-World War II. Very isolationist, very,
Okay.
If you want help, sure, I'm going to give you help, but I'm also going to give your enemy help.
Yeah, I mean, that just might be where me and you differ because, like, I'm very libertarian with everything other than abortion and, like, the military. I think that we need to spend a lot of money on our military just to remain as, like, that world superpower because, like, we have other countries like China and Russia that we're always kind of, like, butting heads with. And, I mean, we're not, like, fighting them, but, like, if we show weakness, I think that a country like that might try and do something to mess up our economy. Not necessarily like a land attack on us, like trying to take us over, but just, you know what I'm saying. We can get into that. We can get more into that later. So
it's not going to be like Red Dawn or anything.
Yeah, no. So, what do you think that say Bernie Sanders was the nominee, what do you think his chances are when it comes to beating Trump in a general election?
I think he's the only candidate and I don't know that he can, but he's the only candidate who has a chance because Trump himself said he's the only one he's worried about. The man himself said he's the only candidate that he's worried about.
He never said he was the only candidate he's worried about.
Okay, I mean, right, but he did say he's worried about it. He's the only candidate left that he's worried about. He was worried about Tulsi, and Tulsi's gone though.
I mean, he was worried about Biden too. He asked Ukraine to investigate.
To be fair, Biden is a piece of crap.
Well, see. Here's how I see it. I understand that like a lot of Bernie supporters are like very passionate about like whether like about him beating Trump, but like,
Biden can't beat Trump. Biden can't beat Biden.
Well, Biden beat Bernie in his own.
No. The DNC beat Bernie, just like the DNC beat Bernie in 2016.
You can look at the number of votes. Biden has far more votes than Bernie.
Right, and here's why. It's because the media doesn't like Bernie, and the media dispossesses millennials from the vote. What they do is they disenfranchise millennials and Zoomers who are going to vote for Bernie, and they say, listen, he has no chance. So you know what they don't do? They don't go vote. Yes, it's their fault for not going to do it, but
I mean, yeah, it's not necessarily the DNC's fault, though.
Right, it's the media.
A lot of it.
In fact, to be fair, I don't like Fox News. I don't like CNN. I don't like MSNBC. But Fox News is the only news agency that's even kind of conciliatory to Bernie at all. Like.
Well, yeah, like even like Tucker. I watched Tucker Carlson a lot, and he even agreed with one of Bernie Sanders' policies. Was like, one of them was like, it was something about like credit cards, like the interest rates, like capping the interest rates. I don't remember what the exact percentage was, but Tucker Carlson agreed with him. So yeah. And one thing that this is just like to go out to everybody that's in my stream as well as you. So a lot of people think that Fox is like just as biased as like CNN or say HuffPost or any of like those sites. But so Fox, I read a study that showed Fox gives Trump 46% negative coverage. Well, I mean, it's a little bit biased usually, like towards like Republican views, but like they're not quite as biased like with CNN, who gives Trump 98% negative coverage.
Right. So, but to be fair, in my opinion, I get almost none of my news from American sources because I don't trust them. Okay. CNN, MSNBC, Fox, I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them.
Have you ever looked at The Hill?
Yeah, I don't.
The
No,
Hill's
besides,
the Hill's pretty centrist. Like you can look it up on like Media Bias Fact Check. Any of
like
those.
I'll go with Politico sometimes, but if I really want some unbiased American news, I'll go to the BBC
Maybe I mean,
or Sky News. British. I'll go to British News. I have to go to British News to get American news.
yeah, I see it differently than you. I see it like as British news. Like I would never like look at British news. Wow, we have 670 people in here. Holy crap!
Well, to be fair, Britain is very right-wing populist right now. The Tories are in charge.
Yeah, I mean,
What's his name? Is
Boris Johnson.
Boris? Yeah, Boris just won, and Boris is their analog of Trump.
True, fair enough. Okay, so let's move into like the coronavirus for a little bit. So
Sure.
what do you think about the severity of the coronavirus? How long do you think that this is going to last? Excuse me. And do you think that the media is making it sound worse than like the virus itself actually is?
Okay, I don't think the virus is as bad as it is because 98% of the people who get it survive.
That's true, but I mean,
98%. And the 2% who die are all 100% of them are over 60 or had 2 or 3 other serious illnesses already wrong with them.
I mean,
no healthy person is dying from it.
Some healthy people in Italy are dying from it. Some in Italy, but Italy also has terrible health care compared to the United States, largely because they have universal health care and our health care is private.
Well, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation. We can get into it. I just had to throw that in there a little bit.
I think it's going to be at least a year.
Okay.
We're going to do this. We're going to go into a Great Depression. It's going to happen. Like a 1932 Great Depression. It's going to happen.
No. I think this will be over by June, July.
Well, we're 18 months away from a vaccine easily.
Okay. Well, have you seen all that research that's done lately? The drug that they use for malaria kills the coronavirus in labs. So all we have to do is produce a shitload of that stuff, and then boom. I mean, that's a good thing. When we can crank out the vaccines too, but like stuff like that, I mean, and with what we're doing right now, like the 15-day to stop the spread, if that doesn't stop it a lot, like Trump's plan, we'll extend that. And I think that like if we all take fairly precautionary measures, that's why I'm honestly for right now, maybe not necessarily martial law, but just like like where the military comes in. I don't know about that. Like it's not that bad yet, but like a mandated like 14-day quarantine. You can only go to grocery stores or to pharmacies. Like,
well, we're already under that in New York, the whole state.
Well, yeah, but not everywhere. It's like Florida already still has their beaches open for spring break.
Well, some states aren't as bad as New York and California.
Well, Florida is bad. Like compared to the other states, it's not as bad as like California. But like, even if it's not bad, it doesn't look bad yet on paper. But like a lot of states don't have like the proper testing kits yet. Like they don't have enough of them. So like, I mean, I really think that like a mandatory for the whole nation, 2 weeks to a month, just lockdown where you can only leave to get groceries.
Like no one steal this idea for a TikTok because I'm literally working on it. But you notice no Zoomers, no millennials are dying from it. Boomers are dying from it. So I'm thinking, maybe this is nature's way of saying, okay, boomer.
That's a little funny. Okay, so how do you feel?
If anyone steals that, I'll know who you are.
Okay. So I already know how you feel about this, and you said but I've watched your TikToks about it. I'll just ask it anyways for the viewers to know. So how do you feel about Trump's response to the virus? And if you dislike it, what would you want him to do differently?
I think it was a little weak. I think he could have been stronger in the beginning. In 2018, now this doesn't have anything to do with it now because he didn't do it now, but in 2018, he fired the people whose job it would have been to stop
John Bolton fired the people.
The CDC's pandemic response team.
John Bolton fired the pandemic response team.
Right.
Trump didn't.
Under Trump's direction because he cut the budget.
It wasn't necessarily, Trump didn't literally tell John Bolton, fire these people though.
No, but he gave him the directive to save money. It was all about money, which is what it was.
For sure.
But if we had the pandemic response team, we wouldn't be in the mess we are in.
Not necessarily. I mean,
what I would have done if I were in Trump's position, when I saw this thing going crazy in China.
Well, keep in mind, China lied about it for a while.
Right. Which is why I would have taken drastic measures to begin with. I would have closed our borders early. Before we even had one case, I would have shut the borders.
No,
No. He did it way late though.
No, he did it in January. Our first case was in like late February, or it was like mid-February.
I would have grounded all air traffic out of the country. No traffic out. Flights leaving the country, you can leave, but you're not coming back. I would have that was where I would have started. I would have grounded out international aircrafts and I would have shut the borders. Nobody in. And if you have left and you're a citizen, well, I'm very sorry, you're not coming back right now.
That's where I disagree. If you left before, see, I totally agree with like grounding all new traffic and all that stuff. But like, if you are a citizen and like you left before, I think that you should be allowed back in. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, but let's say,
or we should have given like a deadline, like say like in 2 weeks you have to be back by now, or else you're not getting back in. That's like,
but then that person can bring it back.
Right, but at that point,
because the gestation period for this virus is 1 to 14 days.
Right.
See, and that's why it's worse than the flu, because the flu is 3 days. Within 3 days, you know you're sick. You're symptomatic.
Right.
And you're not really contagious before those 3 days. This, whatever you want to call it, COVID, coronavirus, whatever, you're 14 days, you could have it and not be symptomatic and be contagious.
Yeah, but like, what I was saying is like if he did it back in January, like when he first did like just the Chinese travel ban.
I would have done it in December.
Well, December, it still didn't look that bad in China. It was like they were approaching like 10,000 cases there, and they had the city of Wuhan locked down. But what I would have done personally is just grounding all air traffic out of the country. Just grounding all air traffic out of the country. There's no reason for it. And then, like for the people that were already out of the country before the ban, I would say 2 weeks or maybe a week to 14 days, and then you have to be back by then, or else you're locked out. Like that's what I personally would have done.
Where the situation we're in now, with it spread the way it is, the steps I would take now that we've gotten this far, I would ground all airplanes, domestic and international. No one flies. No Greyhound buses. No mass transit. No trains. I would ground Amtrak. I would ground Greyhound. I would ground every airplane. No mass transit anywhere. No interstate travel. You may not leave the state. I know this screams of against everything I just said, but you know, if you're in the state you're in, you're in the state you're in until we figure this out.
Yeah, that's what I would honestly. I respect that idea. I think that a domestic travel ban, like especially once we
like no one should be able to leave or come to New York. No one should be able to leave or come to California.
Yeah, like what I'm saying is like once we get all the test kits out and we have like a better idea of how many cases there actually are, if there's like say hundreds of thousands of cases, like there might be like the Surgeon General has predicted there might be right now, like I would say for sure like ground all domestic travel and everything you just said. I would totally agree with that.
But I wouldn't just go with airplanes like Greyhound, Amtrak, you know, anything that can get you around.
I got
like you. Right now our city buses are running without a fare. They're going for free because they don't want to handle money. And I argued that they should stop running.
I got you.
Our local taxis should stop running. Do you know
what I mean? Like that's all the questions that I have on my normal podcast list so far. So let me look at the comments. And okay,
no one's asking questions; they're just saying words.
I've seen abortion a ton. So would you like to discuss abortion? Would you be up for that?
Well, Audrey debates eats babies. So I mean, someone's got to eat them.
You seem like a nice guy. I think a lot of people will see your TikToks and they just assume that you're like this really rude guy, but because like the way that you talk in your TikToks, you're just like, this is what's happening, and like you know.
Well, here's the thing: it generates traffic.
Yeah.
Speaking like this gets your attention.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean? And I only get 60 seconds. If I can't talk like this in 60 seconds, but no, abortion, in my opinion, I think it should be unrestricted before 24 weeks.
Why?
Because before 24 weeks, there is no homeostasis, and homeostasis is required for life.
Well, 96. Holy crap! It's raining so hard at my house. 96% of biologists say that life begins at conception.
Well, I didn't say life doesn't. I said human. It's not a human. Well, I mean, everything is alive. I mean, the joining of the sperm and the ova is a life form, but it's not human. Right.
Yeah,
So is I mean your skin.
if it's
This
not
this
human.
hair I just picked off my arm was alive.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking that's like a new life. There's a difference between pulling off your skin and aborting a baby where the life will never be.
Well, to be fair, let's split hairs here for a second. Baby is defined as an already born human.
Okay. I'm sorry. I just usually use that term. I mean, let you want to pick a word for just to describe the
Fetus. Fetus is an accurate word. I mean,
uh,
but I mean, people use that word. It's a loaded word, and they use it on purpose. And I don't think the majority of them even know. But a baby is literally already born
yeah, but okay. So let's
outside of the vaginal canal.
fetus for whatever in the womb. I just, as a religious person, as a person that has strong morals, I mean, I'm not going to use my religion to argue this, obviously, because you're a non-religious person. So what I believe religiously means nothing to you. So I don't see the correlation that people can make to when it's okay to kill it, because whenever you draw a point at which the personhood, I guess, or life begins in the womb.
Are you going to pair Ben Shapiro? You're going to start talking Ben Shapiro to me.
A little bit. But I mean, no, but what he says is true. I mean, like you can always draw that back to people that are already alive.
Let's take one. Go ahead.
I mean, like that's a good argument. So like, you're for abortion before 24 weeks.
I'm not for it. No, I don't think anybody's for it. But
people say that a lot.
If you're gonna have one, I don't think it should be for frivolity, though. I mean, if you got pregnant, I mean, you should take all the steps you should take not to get pregnant in the first place. Contraception, condoms, the pill, NuvaRing, whatever you want, IUDs.
But if you do something,
you should strive to not become pregnant in the first place.
Well, yeah, I think that if you have like sex and it's a consensual act, I mean, and you don't protect yourself, it's not at the expense of the fetus or the embryo or the baby. I don't.
To be fair, I agree there. I'm like, what did you think was going to happen? You'd get a TV?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't.
Of course,
I don't see that connection. I mean, yeah, and going back to like the partly Ben Shapiro argument. I mean, just like the problem that, I mean, like this is true. Like this isn't just me reciting Ben Shapiro. I feel this way too. I mean, you can always, whenever you draw a point of life in the womb, you can always apply that to other people. So like the heartbeat, like, so if somebody's in a coma, like where they have to be on like a ventilator, I mean, you can't just kill them unless like they're medically like determined brain dead or medically adjudicated brain dead. I mean,
well, here's the thing. We're going to split hairs here, but an already born person with a heartbeat and brain death, they have once been alive. They have once had brain activity and not been brain dead.
I don't see why that's relevant.
Because a 15, well, because you're trying to draw that line, and a 15-day-old or 15, what is it, 15 days, 15-day-old fetus or whatever they say, 8 weeks, 8 weeks, 15 weeks has
I believe heartbeat is at like 4 weeks.
Right. Anyways, they don't have a brain to begin with. They haven't yet got a brain.
Brain activity is, I think, 6 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks.
But either way, I draw the line at homeostasis, because that's where most people who are pro-choice draw the line. And here's, after 24 weeks, I think it should be restricted to medical necessity only.
But people in a coma can't maintain homeostasis.
Right.
So why should we be able to kill a fetus just because it can't maintain homeostasis?
Who's killing a person in a coma? And they can, just because you're in a coma.
I'm not saying people are killing people in comas. I'm saying,
no. I'm gonna draw this out to its logical conclusion. People in a coma, just because you're in a coma doesn't mean you don't have homeostasis. That just means you are chronically unconscious.
Okay. So
like to be in a coma just doesn't mean you need life support. It just means
yeah. Let's just say
chronically unconscious.
Let's just say somebody gets in a coma and somebody gets in a
persistent vegetative state.
Not necessarily a vegetative state, just a car crash where they're in a coma, they have some brain activity, but they can't breathe on their own, so they need to be on a ventilator. You can't just kill them unless they have it written in their will, like if I'm in a coma for this certain amount of time, kill me. Like you can't just kill them if they don't have that. So like what I'm saying is like a fetus that doesn't have that has no say in the matter, that did nothing wrong. I don't understand, like morally or just logically, why we should be able to kill them. I mean, like if you look at like other societies that like we treat, it's like you said, you draw the line at homeostasis. So like we've looked at like other societies in the past that have deemed other humans as not being human, like Nazi Germany, like the slaves, like that we had like 200 years ago. We deemed them not human. So like I see that as the same thing that we're doing here with abortion, and that's just why I think that it's wrong fundamentally.
Well, I just err on the side of it's none of my business. Like if it's like, and I do think though, and this might strike you as curious, that if I've fathered a baby with a woman and she wants to get an abortion and I don't want her to get an abortion, I should at least have some say.
Yeah, I mean, I
think like if we intended to make a baby, or if we, let's say, it was just whatever, we didn't intend to make a baby, we were just fooling around and she got pregnant, I'm like, wait, we're gonna have a baby, and she's like, no, we're not, and I'm like, but I'm I mean,
yeah,
that's my baby.
I don't think it should be an option unless a medical doctor deems that you will be harmed by the pregnancy, or like your life will be in danger. Because like if you look
right, I'm with you after 24 weeks. I'm with you there just after 24 weeks.
Like, how you said you think it's kind of stupid when people get abortions, like when it's just like when they're just fooling around. Like if you look at it's like 90% of people that get abortions, it's for like, oh, I'm not ready to have a kid right now. Like, I mean, that's almost all of abortions. Like if you look at,
I do agree that you should take every step you can not to become pregnant. Have all the sex you want with 80 partners. I don't care. But here's the problem. The same people who say, and I don't know about you, but the same people who say you shouldn't get an abortion are the same people who say you shouldn't use prophylactics, or you shouldn't use spermicide, or you shouldn't use because
that's not me. I don't think a lot.
Do you know who I mean? Like
the majority of the pro-life movement is all for birth control and condoms, because the main goal of the pro-life movement is to end abortion. If we prevent conception, there's nothing wrong with that.
So we should hand out condoms in school then?
No, I'm pretty sure
high school kids are having sex. 100% guarantee it.
$3. Like condoms are like $3.
But we should make them available to the students if they want to pay for them in the school.
I mean, I don't know that we should.
At the health office.
They're $3. I don't know at the health office. I mean, they can go to this. They can go to the local grocery store, like your CVS, which is like usually pretty close to schools. I mean,
all right. So since abstinence only education has failed, and it doesn't stop people from having sex, should we, in your opinion, stop it? Stop telling people in health class, stop having sex? Or should we say, you're going to have sex? We know it. Duh. Just be smart and be safe.
Honestly, I've never really thought about that. I can I'll think about that and like DM you another time. But I mean, it has definitely failed. But
just like the DARE program,
that wouldn't be a bad idea. Like teaching, yeah, I guess that would not be a bad idea. That would not be a bad idea.
Instead of teaching kids not to have sex, teach kids how to have it safer, because they're going to have sex. My son's 11. I'm not an idiot. By the time he's 14, I guarantee he's going to have sex. I guarantee it. And I'd be all right with that, so long as he does it smartly.
Okay, I got you. All right, moving on from that topic, we could not come to an agreement.
Oh, it's not tomato juice. It's strawberry banana. But yeah. Anyway, sorry.
He's a psycho drinking tomato juice. That's funny. Law enforcement. What about law enforcement?
What about law enforcement? That's a very broad question.
Guns. Okay, guns. You want to talk about guns?
Sure. I'm a veteran, and so I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution, and gun ownership is enshrined in the Constitution. I don't have to like it. I don't like it, but it's in there. So you get it. You get to have a gun.
So
you should have a gun.
Okay. So
you should have 10 guns. In fact, the Constitution does say what kind of gun you can have. So if you want a Russian-made AK-47, you should have a Russian-made AK-47. If you want an Uzi, you should have an Uzi. Because, I mean, the only way we're going to have any kind of gun reform is to let people have whatever gun they want, and then realize that that's a bad idea.
So you don't support like any regulations to like the Second Amendment whatsoever. How do you feel about like?
I don't think crazy people should have guns.
Yeah, like this is where, because like a lot of Republicans will say like, oh, like we should allow mentally ill people to have them because
should.
Like I know, okay, well at least the NRA.
Okay, well I mean
the NRA. I'm a member of the NRA, but the NRA, they I believe there was a Supreme Court case a long time ago, and they actually sued because they were trying to make it to where mentally ill people couldn't buy guns. It was actually Justice Scalia that wrote the report, or that wrote the summary, I guess, if you will. Right. The NRA actually sued and won, but like here's the majority of the majority voice in the NRA basically says that okay, we should allow mentally ill people to have them because if you don't, then you're taking away their right, and that therefore that takes away due process. So you're basically already stripping them of their rights.
I'll grant you that. I'll grant you that. Provided we give.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Oh, but I mean, I'll grant them that, provided they give felons the right to vote.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either. But
and I mean, if you're in prison, you should be able to. Because I mean, if we're gonna not take away rights, I mean, we should err on the side of more rights, not fewer. I actually agree that being imprisoned doesn't negate your right to vote. It ought not to negate your right to vote.
I mean, I disagree. But going back to guns, I personally think that like people that have like say severe depression or schizophrenia, I don't think that they should be allowed to own a gun. I mean, there's no reason for it.
I don't think it should be permanent though. I don't think it should be a lifetime ban. I mean, if you're gonna.
Well, somebody that has schizophrenia, you don't just like get rid of schizophrenia.
Right. Well, you know what I mean? Like sorry, I'm just sanitizing. Yeah, like if you're just really, really sad, you know, if you got depression, I mean, you can get over depression.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess I see what you're saying. You would have to have like a doctor's note saying like, hey, you know, like he's good, he can own a gun.
Yeah, okay, and so I think we agree. You know, we're under, you know, crazy times. So yeah, hand sanitizer. So I'll give you the recipe for homemade stuff if you want.
So yeah, I think that we can agree on that one. Ask him if he supports law enforcement. Do you support law enforcement?
That's a silly question. I don't understand the question.
It's a very broad question.
Too broad.
There's lots of different types and sectors of law enforcement in the government.
I would, if I were the president, I would stop the TSA. I would get rid of the TSA.
Why?
Because they haven't stopped one single attack.
That is not true. Come on.
Not one.
That is not true. Look, I know. Look, this is considered an anecdote, but it is
right. And anecdotes are not evidence. So,
well, it is a personal story of evidence of how the TSA does work. So, my dad's friend accidentally left his .22 revolver in his briefcase going onto a plane, and the TSA obviously stopped it, and he almost got into a lot of trouble for it. So the TSA, I mean, they
well, that wasn't an attack; it was an idiot.
Well, yeah, but they prevent people from bringing guns on planes. You very rarely see stuff like that happen anymore. I mean, without the TSA, people could literally just walk onto a plane with a gun and shoot up an entire plane. And
they could do that before the TSA, and it very rarely happened.
Okay, but it's a lot different world now.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
It's a lot safer right now.
No, it's not.
With regard to this, I mean, except for this virus, but
violent crime rate has gone up since.
It hasn't.
Yes, it has.
I'm going to Google that.
Okay. Even if it doesn't matter,
I'm going to live fact check you.
I'm pretty sure it has. I may be wrong, but I remember reading somewhere it has. But even if it hasn't, I mean, like in the light of 9/11, I think that we need TSA. You're right. Hold up. Wait. You're right. Violent crime rate has gone down by year.
Yeah, every year.
Anyways, irrelevant in my opinion.
Well, it isn't exactly,
but anybody can bring a gun on a plane if they want to. Yes, normal people usually wouldn't. But if somebody, I mean,
I'd like to see some statistics on how many guns they've prevented.
I'll try.
Or how many bombs they've prevented, or I mean, because what they're really good at preventing is me taking my hand sanitizer on a plane.
I mean, well,
they're really good at making sure I don't take cranberry juice in my carry-on.
Well, you can just buy that after you get to the
right. But you see what I'm saying? They're really good at making sure I don't have fingernail clippers.
I know they're taking precautions. Like
they're being retarded.
No, they're not. I'm sure some way, somewhere, somebody knows how to turn fingernail clippers into a shank.
Oh my God.
I'm sure somebody does. It's about preventing it. It's not really infringing upon your rights. That I mean, like, come on.
I could turn this into a weapon. I mean, it's
okay,
glue. But the point is, and to be fair, I couldn't take this on a plane.
Okay.
Glue. I'm going to take over a plane with glue.
Think about how dumb that sounds. It's not the end of the world. You can just buy glue once you're done. It's not that big of an inconvenience.
So why can't I take it in my carry-on? Okay. Glue.
Okay, it's like liquids over like 3 ounces or something. I'm sure there's something in there with they've done calculations like, oh yeah, if you have this amount of this kind of liquid, you can build a bomb or something like that.
I'd still like to see the statistics on how many attacks they have prevented because I can't take glue.
So I have a friend. Okay, so I have a friend that just sent me the statistics on the TSA. So TSA found 4,432 guns in airports last week. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but let me look it up.
What's the source?
I don't know. He just sent me that.
Okay, Google. How many guns has the TSA confiscated?
So according to the Washington Post.
According to Slate.com, on Wednesday, the Transportation Security Administration released what appeared to be a staggering statistic. 4,432 guns were seized at U.S. airport checkpoints in 2019.
That's a lot of guns. That's a lot, if you ask me. I definitely.
Right, that's a lot of guns.
That's a lot of guns. We definitely need TSA.
And that Slate is a pretty liberal, source. That's a lot of guns. All right, whatever. Moving on.
A lot of guns.
Never mind.
That's enough for TSA.
I take it back.
Okay, good. I'm glad I can.
Just let me take my fucking hand sanitizer. Stop the glue.
I'm sure they've got something there to where it's like if you have this amount of this liquid, you can make a bomb. Which, I mean, it's not, honestly, I'm fine with that because it's not that big of an inconvenience for somebody to just go to a store after and buy glue. I mean, glue like that is probably what, $3?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the point of the glue. It was handy. And
yeah.
It was on my desk.
Any hand sanitizer, whatever. ICE/immigration, that's a very hot button topic. I think me and you might differ on that. So I think that ICE is definitely very necessary to the security of our nation. And I think that we should 100% build a wall. And once we build the wall, I think that we should provide the immigrants with a pathway to citizenship to where we determine whether they will be valuable to our nation or not. I'm based on, I don't know, what they've done so far in the nation as they were illegals. And then if we deem them not eligible or not productive, just deport them and not allow them to use our stuff like Medicaid and stuff like that.
Well, they already can't use Medicaid, but.
Well, they do.
Okay, Google. Can illegal immigrants get benefits?
I can search the web for that. Just tap the search chip below.
Undocumented immigrants are right here from the National Immigration Forum.
That's probably the most biased source possible.
It's literally, that's their job. All right, let's go to.
Okay, well, listen, whether
how about New York State, NewYorkSenate.gov?
Listen. They can walk into a hospital and get medical care.
So can you.
I understand that, but I'm a citizen. That's a big difference. No, this is the reality. This is not just propaganda. Illegal immigrants cost the taxpayer around $180 billion every year. Every year. Not only that, but I mean, yes, in the state of Arizona, they commit crimes at 2 times the rate that normal citizens do. But
is that where you are, Arizona?
No, I'm in Texas. But in general, they actually commit a lot of. This is for all the Republicans that are in here. So y'all need to stop saying this shit because it's not true. So actually, illegal immigrants across the whole country commit crimes at a lower rate than citizens do, that's actually a fact. So y'all got.
And facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah. But again, I think that we need ICE because ICE stops 90% of all of the child sex trafficking that goes across the Mexican border.
My personal opinion is, I mean, in an ideal world, okay, I understand it's not feasible because
in a Marxist society,
right? I think not just our border.
I'm sorry, I just don't.
Not just our border, but all borders are silly. And I'm going to use the word silly because it's the only word I know how to use. Like, just because I don't think a plot of land is sacred or sovereign just because, hey, this is my plot of land. We got here first.
I mean, that's like a 5th grade level argument, but I mean, like,
to be fair, I'm sure a lot of these people are in 5th grade.
Well, I mean, like, if you have a nation with benefits such as like the benefits we have, like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, law enforcement, roads, schools, stuff like that, you have to have borders because if you don't, the country will become poor. Illegals that some of them don't pay taxes. Not all of them don't pay taxes, but there's a good amount of them that don't pay taxes. I mean, that would just be draining the system and put a huge burden on the taxpayers.
Well, you're going to not like this when I say I am for global governance.
Well, that's not feasible whatsoever.
Well, of course it isn't. Like, neither is communism. It's not feasible, but it's what I'm for. Like,
how can you be for it if it's not feasible?
Because idealistically speaking, that's what I would like to happen. I know it's not going to happen, and that's not a thing I'm fighting to make happen. It's just what I ideally would like.
So realistically, what does your ideal society look like?
I would,
realistically speaking,
I would just go with America. How about that? Ideally, if you want to solve the immigration problem, I would make it easier for people to apply to become.
And I agree with that. But
to get in, because the way people say, "Oh, I want them to come in the right way," the right way is almost impossible. It's nearly impossible. Like if I were of a Mexican immigrant, and I'm here legally, and I want to sponsor my father, down in Mexico, it could take 20 years before he's allowed to get here.
I understand.
And by that time, he's dead.
I'm completely for reforming that, but here's the way that I see it. So I think that if we did an immigration reform before we built the wall, I think that we would see a massive influx of people trying to get into the country and overloading the system because and you have to have a cap. Like, you can't just let in infinite people. I mean, that would just make the nation poor. I mean, overpopulation. I mean, it's the U.S. It's probably I think, and arguably you could make the case for anybody, it's the most desirable country to live in the world. I mean,
well, I mean, I don't know about that. I'm once my son graduates high school, I'm getting the hell out of here.
Where were you going to move?
I'm going to move to the United Kingdom.
Why? That's like one of the most dangerous. That's one of the most dangerous. Like,
I don't know. I like England. I've been to like 13 different countries, and that was my favorite one of them.
Their violent crime rate is like 3 times higher than ours.
I'm not afraid of people.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
I mean, I've walked the back streets of Rome in the middle of the night.
Okay.
Like Rome, Italy. I've been to Turkey. I have been to Casablanca.
Fair enough.
If you've ever been to Casablanca, it's a horrible, terrible place.
The weather also is pretty shitty in the UK too, though, if you think about it. In my opinion, I mean, I'm not for like rain almost all the time.
Right. I like their culture.
Fair enough.
And I like football. So
back to immigration. So are you against like building the wall for this country right now?
I just think it wouldn't serve the purpose that it would be intended to serve.
Why not?
Because first of all, you can fly over it. And right now, 42% of all illegal immigrants came here not through the southern border.
They came here on visas.
Right. 42% of all illegal immigrants.
Less than half.
Europe, 42%. Yeah.
Less than half.
But that's a huge number. There are, let's say, 13 million. There's about 13 million illegal immigrants. Okay, Google, what is 42% of 13 million?
The answer is 5,460,000.
So about 5,460,000 people here illegally from Europe on visas that they just overstayed.
Hold up,
We don't know who they are.
So I'm trying to
Are
find.
you equal? A wall wouldn't stop that.
A wall would definitely cut down on a lot of it. All you have to do is look at Israel. They erected a wall, and over 97% of their illegal immigration ceased. Okay, so
Because they're shooting people on the other side of the wall.
Well, yeah, I'm not for shooting people on the other side.
Well, they are shooting people.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying if we built a wall, it would make it a lot easier for our.
I mean, shooting people definitely deters people.
Well, yeah, but I'm not for that. I'm just saying that if we built a wall, it would make it a lot easier for ICE to actually do their job. I mean, it would,
Do you know what circular migration is?
Not exactly.
Okay, it's where a person crosses the border, albeit illegally, and they do a job here, and then they go back home.
Okay.
They take a couple $100 American back to Mexico, but they go back home, and then they come back a day or so later, and then they go back home. A wall would stop them from going back home.
Okay, but it would stop them from coming in here too. And it would stop a lot of other people from coming in here.
They're picking your strawberries. They're picking your coffee. These illegal immigrants are the ones doing the jobs that you don't want to do. I don't want to do. They're undesirable jobs that nobody wants to do.
Okay, so all illegal immigrants are good for is undesirable jobs?
No, I'm saying the undesirable jobs that exist are being done by illegal immigrants, and we are benefiting from it.
I think that, well, I mean, look at the unemployment right now. The unemployment rate right now is like 3.4%. It'll probably go up a little bit considering what's going on.
It's going to be about 82% here in a minute.
No, it won't.
I'm being hyperbolic.
Yeah, okay. But I'm not saying expel all illegal immigrants. But like you're the ones that you're talking about, the ones that are working for us. I'm saying like once we erect the wall, I'm saying that we create a pathway to citizenship for them if they are productive to our society. And I would be all for that. But here's the reason why we have to build the wall first. Because if while you're building the wall, the border is partly unsecured. And if you create an easy pathway to citizenship, you're going to have a massive influx of people that are coming in while they're building the wall, while the border is unprotected. So that's what I think.
Right. But my question is, the wall, first of all, it's not going to span the entire southern border. It can't physically.
Well, it would span the part that doesn't have the natural barriers.
Right. And have you ever seen a map?
Like a map of the US?
And Mexico, yeah.
Yeah, like I mean I live in Texas. It's like
right.
It's like
right. What can you do through the Gulf of Mexico?
And well, yeah, but I'm saying it would make it easier. I'm saying it would make it easier for ICE to do their job.
Right. Like but what about the 42% of Europeans, the white ones, who are here illegally, and who knows what they're doing?
If they're productive to our society, we keep them. If they're not, we get rid of them.
But how do we know where they are?
Well, I mean, they were on visas at some point. I'm not saying we literally. This is just an interesting topic for me because there's like part of me that's a Christian is like I want to accept everybody, but then there's also part of me that's like, look, like we have a country, we have lots of benefits here. They put over $180 billion in tax burdens on us every year. We need to get rid of some of them. So it's a hard topic for me, and I think that I think that if we created a pathway to citizenship, we would also have a lot of them that come forward.
1 second. Peter, how do I scroll up here in the chat? Peter Lawrence Outdoors said drugs coming through the border. Peter Lawrence Outdoors, the majority of the drugs coming through the border are at the port of entry.
That's true.
The right way to come in, that's where the majority of the drugs are coming in, through the ports of entry.
But you could still get rid of some of it. And it's not just about the drugs. It's about, mostly for me,
I was answering his question.
Yeah. Mostly for me, it's about the sex trafficking part that goes on. And ICE ends 90% of that, which is an amazing thing. And the border would end even more of it. And that's the main reason why I think we should build the wall, is because it would cut down a lot on sex trafficking. That's how I see it. I mean, I guess we can differ in opinion on that.
I would need to see statistics, and I'm not prepared on that right now. I didn't know where we were going with that, but yeah, I would need to see statistics and how a physical barrier would, mitigate that.
So, this person said gay rights are constitutional rights. I agree with you. I mean, I don't, even as a Christian, I don't. Here, I'll talk about it for everybody that's in here and didn't hear me last night. So, I believe as a Christian that marriage is an entirely religious thing. I don't think the government should have any say in marriage whatsoever. That being said, what I believe in marriage is the unity between a man and a woman. But that doesn't mean that I think that the government should interfere and say, "Hey, you can't get married because y'all are gay." I believe in separation of church and state, so my religion should have no say in what the government does. Therefore, I believe that gay people should be able to get married, do whatever. I could honestly care less as long as they're not interfering with my life. I could.
So it's kind of like Ben Shapiro said. Ben Shapiro says, I believe a thing because I'm a religious person. But what I believe doesn't matter because other people aren't religious.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah. It's one of the smartest things Ben Shapiro has said.
Ben Shapiro is a very intelligent guy. Whether you like him or not, he is a very intelligent guy.
He is adorable. Ben Shapiro.
I guarantee you his IQ is over 140 without a doubt.
Well, mine's 135, so.
I've never taken an IQ test, but I'd assume it's fairly decent. Police brutality.
It's bad. How about that?
I mean, yeah, I don't think that the police should brutalize anybody. I mean, for doing nothing, obviously. Genders. This is probably where me and you are going to differ. I mean, I know that there are a lot of people that define gender as a social construct, but I mean, for almost all of academia and almost all of like society, up until gender theory was proposed by, I believe the person was Francis Dubois. You might know.
That's who it was, yeah.
I think it was him. I mean, up until then, gender and sex have been intertwined, and
Native Americans. Do you know who Native Americans are?
Yes, I know who Native Americans are.
They had a concept of transgenderism. They called them two spirits, and they were revered amongst their people.
Well, that's Native Americans. That's a lot different.
Right. Well, you just said since the beginning of time, or since.
I'm talking about for like since the beginning of the U.S.
Well, they were the beginning of the U.S.
Okay, not really. They were their own society back then. No, I mean, I'm saying like from the beginning, the United States was considered it's a country. Like
it really didn't. I mean, it wasn't enshrined in the Constitution. It's not enshrined anywhere. It's just a thing people believe.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's enshrined in the Constitution. I'm just saying for all these for 200 years.
Okay, let's assume for a minute. I'm going to argue his side. I'm going to strong man you, or steel man you. Do you know what that means? To steel man? Steel man. A straw man is a fallacy where you attempt to argue something you're not. To kind of a steel man is where I'm going to argue for his position to prove a point. Let's assume for a minute he's right, and that there are only two genders, and you can't change no matter what. So what? So what? If in that scenario, I want to cut off my wiener and grow some tits and shave my beard and wear a dress and call myself a girl, and I say, hey, can you call me a girl? You're an asshole if you don't. I'm not saying you should be compelled by law, but the decent human thing to do would be to call me a girl.
Yeah, I never said that.
I'm speaking to your people.
Well,
because I know your position.
Yeah, my position is that you can't change your gender, you can't change your sex. I mean,
but if a trans person came up to you and said
they're still biologically men, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to call them by their proper pronoun, like that they identify as. I mean, like, there's no reason just to piss somebody off. I mean, I'm not a dick, like. But if I'm on like, say, like with like Ben Shapiro does, like when he was on national television with that transgender person, I'm not going to like mainstream it to like the entire nation that's true, because I don't believe that you can. I believe that gender and sex are the same thing, and I don't think that. I don't think you can change it. And I understand that a lot of people define it as a spectrum, but I'm not making that connection.
See, what my problem is, do you know about these bathroom bills, right?
Enlighten me. I might.
The bathroom bills that say you must, like states like North Carolina, they're trying to say you must use the bathroom of the gender you were assigned at birth, no matter what.
See, there's
this
a part.
This person,
I don't necessarily agree with that because
this person right here, hold on,
agree with that.
shit, would have to go to the men's room.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that. I just,
damn it.
I think,
anyways,
they can see it. They can see it. They can see it.
Carmen Carrera, one of the most famous trans people ever, would have to go to the men's room. Giant, huge, double D tits, you know, smooth, glowing skin, would have to go to the men's room.
Yeah, I mean, and there's also, this is also where I partly differ with most of my conservative counterparts. I've actually read into this a lot and researched this a lot because I kind of got shredded by a debate in a liberal like a long time ago before I did TikTok or anything about this. And so actually, there's been studies that have shown that people that are transgender, Nick, you're not even conservative. I'm very libertarian on almost everything except for abortion in the military. Continuing. What was I saying? Oh, okay. So there have been studies that have shown that people that are transgender, like they don't do like pedophile related things to children.
Right.
And they're just, like,
the majority of pedophiles, 98% of all pedophiles are straight, white, Christian men.
I'd have to see data that shows that, but 98% white Christian men.
Straight white Christian men.
They're not real Christians if they're pedophiles, but
okay, they identify as Christian.
Well, yeah, they're not real Christians. You can't have Christ in your heart and be a pedophile.
Fair enough. However, they identify themselves as Christian. How about that? But yeah. I mean, it isn't. There has not been one instance in this country of a transgendered person going into a bathroom and sexually assaulting someone. Not one.
Okay.
Ever.
I mean, yeah, I'll take that for your word. I haven't seen that exact figure, but yeah, I do know that it's not. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with the stuff that most of the Republican Party says sometimes. I mean, it's just different. Military funding. So I believe in a strong military. I don't necessarily think that we should keep increasing the budget like we are. I think that 800 billion is definitely very sufficient in funding our military. Trump basically branched off part of the Air Force into the Space Force recently. I don't necessarily think that we need a Space Force. It's kind of dumb to me. I mean, so yeah, I think that we should definitely have a very strong military at all times, for sure. Just as a world superpower and as a world economic, just as a superpower in general.
I agree we should have a strong one, but I don't think it needs to be like if we were to cut 50% of our, let's assume we were to cut 50% of our military spending, half, what would that make it to? 400 billion a year. We would still have the largest military budget in the world by 50%.
Well, there's a reason for that. Because like if you look at countries like Russia, a lot of their
waste.
Well, no, not partly.
There's a lot of waste.
Partly, yes. But so like with Russia, you probably already know this because you're a vet, but like a lot of their military, like when they buy their tanks or their planes or jets or whatever you want to say, a lot of it is like companies that are controlled by the government. We always make like contracts with companies that are in the private sector, which is a lot of the time why it costs more because like the companies have to make a profit, obviously. That's a lot of the times why we spend more money than countries like that.
Right. And sometimes we recoup some of that money. We do. And I'm going to, again, argue his position here for a second. When I was in the Navy, we sailed with NATO. Do you know what NATO is?
Yes, I know what NATO is.
The North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Well, we were the American ship, and we were sailing with NATO. There was a Greek ship and a Turkish and a Spanish and a British. And with the exception of the British, every other ship was former U.S. ship. The French were using a former U.S. ship. The Spanish were using a former U.S. ship. The Turks were using a former U.S. ship. The Brits had their own, of course, but
yeah, I mean, I think that 800 billion is plenty sufficient. I don't think that increasing it to 1 trillion, like, unless we were like fighting a
I mean,
war,
that's insanity.
like another world war actively. Like, I think right now we're technically at war with like 7 countries, but it's not like a mainstream, like world war. That's like, you know what I'm saying?
Right. And most of those wars are our own damn fault. Like,
Yeah, I did not support invading Iraq for weapons of mass destruction. That was nonsense. And I mean,
if we wanted to about if we okay, they used 9/11 to go into Iraq when there was no reason to go to Iraq. Go to Afghanistan. That's where all of that happened.
Saudis
Afghanistan.
were actually behind it. The Saudis were behind it.
But nobody wants to talk about Saudi Arabia. Nobody. Not my side, not your side. Nobody. Everybody is too scared to talk about Saudi Arabia.
I don't support the arms deal with Saudi Arabia either. That's just.
I don't know why we're allied with Saudi Arabia in the first place.
Well, it's because of oil.
They lead the world in human rights violations.
Well, yeah, it's because of oil. That's why. We get a lot of oil from Saudi Arabia. That's why. That's why we're allies with them. It's all of those wars. The back end of all of those wars are about oil. I mean, if you really look into it deeply. Talk about transgender in the military. I've seen a lot of those.
Yeah.
So
my theory is, if you are mentally and physically fit, you should join. Period. I don't think that Trump has a blanket ban on all transgender people, and I wouldn't do that, because a blanket ban on anything is silly. It doesn't serve any purpose. If you can prove yourself physically and mentally fit, just like anybody else, there's no reason you shouldn't join.
I mean, I see where you're coming from, but at the same time, if you look like at the transgender community, like 45% of them commit suicide, and
42.
Okay, 42. I mean, big difference, but I mean, 42%. That's like almost half. I mean, if you think about it, like that's a lot of people that like put other people that are in the military already at risk, and I mean that are not in the mental state to like go into a battle, with a special operation if they need to.
Sorry, my son's in the office. What's up? No, I'm in a podcast. I don't know, 6 months. Go play. Sorry.
You're fine. No worries. Okay, so I just think that puts a lot of soldiers at risk. Not to mention the money.
Right, and we would screen, people, potential. Oh wait, we already do that.
I know,
everybody is screened.
But not only that, they wouldn't. I mean, like a lot of people that are in the military probably don't like transgender people, anyways. So like,
that's a blanket statement.
Well, I mean,
I promise you, there's transgender people in the military right now.
Probably. But I mean, just
like when Clinton banned gays in the military. Remember, don't ask, don't tell.
Well, yeah.
That was, my best friend in the whole world. She was a lesbian. We served together on the same ship, and she was discharged for homosexual misconduct. Do you want to know what her misconduct was?
What?
She was homosexual.
Yeah, and I don't think that. Yeah, I'm not for that at all whatsoever. No.
There were gay people in the military when it was illegal to be gay in the military. Just like there's trans people in the military right now.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying
banning it isn't going to make it stop. Just like banning guns isn't going to make people stop having guns.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it puts some. I mean, I don't know. I don't agree with transgender people being in the military in the first place. Just like for the cost. I mean, the cost of all the hormones. We already spend so much on the military. We don't need to add any more with that. I mean, that's just how I see it. We can agree to disagree.
Every military member gets free healthcare.
Yeah, I know, but it would cost more. It would still cost more for their hormones and stuff like that.
It would cost the same as it costs now, because everyone gets free healthcare no matter what. If I needed hormone replacement therapy, let's say I was low T, my testosterone was low. I could get testosterone therapy. It would cost the exact same thing as it would cost a transgendered woman to have, surgery, or transgender man to have surgery,
The
or hormone
government
therapy.
won't pay for it. I mean, I understand that it's insurance, but healthcare
Everybody's already paying for it. It's not insurance. It's literally free for them because taxes pay for
it's
it.
not free. It's at the expense of the taxpayer.
It's effectively free. And I understand, by that I mean the person receiving the benefits isn't paying to have it done.
Right, but it's not free for them to get it. The government doesn't just rip it out of pharmacies. They still have to pay for it.
My healthcare right now is effectively free. And by that I mean when I go to the doctor, I don't pay a penny.
Well, yeah.
I see a chiropractor twice a month. I don't pay for that. I get my prescriptions. I don't pay for them. I have a back brace. I didn't pay for that. I have inserts in my shoes. I didn't pay for those. I don't pay anything out of pocket.
But taxpayers have to pay for it. It's at the burden of the American taxpayer.
But do you know you already pay for 50? I don't know about you, but taxpayers already pay for 50.
I've already paid into Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
50% of Americans are on some sort of socialized medicine, whether it be the VA, Medicare, or Medicaid.
Which I don't agree with.
I
don't agree with Medicare, Medicaid, or Medicaid to some extent, because
wait, you don't think old people should have Medicare?
Well, I mean, it's okay. Here's how I see it. So I mean, like, they've paid into it their whole life. So like at this point, we kind of have to keep it. But like, if I could go back in time, I would get rid of everything that FDR did. Literally everything. Anything associated with the New Deal, gone. It's bankrupted our nation today. I mean, that's why our deficit is so big. We spend like $3 trillion on Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security every year, and that's insane. And Social Security is literally it's literally communism. It's just redistribution of wealth.
Okay, which I'm going to give you a policy, and you tell me which radical socialist this was under. The top earners paid almost 80% of their taxes in income.
Yeah, I know. That was like in
no. Which radical socialist was that had a progressive tax bracket where the rich paid almost 80%? And guess what? They were still well off. Which radical socialist?
Couldn't tell you.
Republican Dwight D. Eisenhower.
I'm not a fan of Eisenhower. Not a fan.
What about it?
I was not. I don't know a whole ton about him, but we learned a lot about him in A-Push last year, and what I heard wasn't a fan. I was more of a, back in a long time ago like that, I was more a fan of Calvin Coolidge. I'm all for libertarian economically stuff. So I favored Ronald Reagan's tax plan, and I know you said that Ronald Reagan's economy still bankrupts us today, but that is that is so not true in my opinion. I mean, you can make the argument that say after World War II, how the taxes on the highest top marginal income tax bracket was 90%. Say the middle class was the best off back then. Maybe true, yes, but that's very misleading because after World War II, for 20 years, let's say 20 years, the U.S. was one of the only countries in the world that was still industrially sound back then. I mean, literally everything in Europe was annihilated. It took them at least 20 years to get back and going. So that's why.
Let me explain trickle up economics, because trickle down economics isn't clearly working. It's not trickling down.
Trickle down economics isn't a thing. That's a thing that the left.
It's supply side economics, whatever you want to call it.
Oh shoot! It's fine. It'll take a second. I haven't plugged in my PS4. Whenever my PS4 goes into rest mode, they turn off. All right, we're good.
All right. I mean, whatever you want to call it, supply side economics, whatever.
Supply side economics and trickle down economics are a lot different because trickle down economics.
When people say trickle down, that's what they're talking about.
Right, but I want to elaborate.
When you give rich people more money, what do they do with it?
They reinvest it back into their company.
That's the ideal. That's what you would like them to do. But when Trump gave these rich people their tax break, do you know what they did with it? They bought back their own stock.
Exactly.
Their own stock. They enriched themselves.
Putting more money into their company.
They enrich themselves. When you give a poor person money,
when you buy stocks, that's putting money into the company. Therefore, that drives everything in the company.
Stocks.
Okay, that doesn't matter.
When you give a poor person money, what do they have to do with it?
They have
They
to
have no
spend it.
choice. Have no choice but to spend it. So
Yeah.
they're literally directly, immediately putting that money back into the economy, which
by buying
creates
food, that may
creates jobs.
okay, that might jog like Walmart or a fast food joint or a convenience store, but that's not going to jog the entire economy that requires all of this money to make all of this stuff that we use today. Like it might, like a poor person, if you give them a little bit of money, they're not going to go out and buy an iPhone. They're going to go out and buy food. I mean, that may jog like grocery stores, but it's not going to jog the rest of the economy. Think about it like that. I mean,
I'm reading the comments. No, but that's what ideally, this is where we had our conversation before we got on here came in. I would go to a moneyless society. No money.
That would never work ever.
Well, that's why I said we were, because I'm a communist, and I don't know if your people know this. Like, I'm an idealist communist. Like, I argue that it can't work in a large scale, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work small scale. In your house, your home is a communism.
How?
Everyone, okay. I wrote a paper on this in my poli-sci.
My house is not a communist.
Time out. I wrote a paper in my poli-sci class. I got a B, even though my professor disagreed with my thesis. But Smurfs. Do you know the Smurfs?
I mean, yeah, I know they are. I don't know the movie.
Right, but you've heard of the Smurfs.
Yeah.
Right. The Smurfs live in a society where everyone has a role. Everyone does that role for the betterment of everyone else in the society. Everyone in the community has a job, a specific job that benefits everyone else in the community. No one deviates from their job. Baker Smurf bakes. Builder Smurf builds. He doesn't build because he gets paid for it. He builds because he benefits from everyone else's labor. So if I were Builder Smurf, my labor would benefit you, and Baker Smurf's labor would benefit me. That's a communism.
Yeah, but that's not even how my house works. But I mean, I have to pay for my own gas, tolls, stuff like that. Anytime I go out to eat, I have to pay for it on my own. But yeah, I understand. In theory, it sounds amazing.
It works. It works small scale all the time. We have communes right here in the United States.
Like what?
It's called communes. There are hundreds of communes all over this country.
Like, give me an example.
Self-sufficient communities that thrive on their own.
Give me an example of one. I've never seen one of these before.
I'm going to Google the nearest commune. Okay, Google, where is my nearest commune?
Here are some results from a search.
That's like a house, isn't it? Or is it like an actual town?
No, it's like a little community. It's like a town.
I mean, even if it works small scale, that would never work.
Right.
I mean,
I agree. I agree it won't work large scale because there's just too many people.
Okay, but going back to supply side economics, redistributing. So I assume like if you're not for communism at the large scale, you're for demand side economics or Keynesian economics.
I don't know what Keynesian economics is.
Keynesian economics and demand side are pretty much the same thing.
You're gonna have to explain it.
Well, demand side is basically just the opposite of supply side.
So no, pretend I don't know anything.
It's just okay. Demand side
because you got people here watching too.
Yeah, demand side economics is just, it basically says that if you tax the rich and tax the corporations at a high rate and give the money back to the poor people, that it will jog the economy and create jobs. When in reality, that doesn't even work in theory because
it's never been tested.
Well, I mean,
there isn't even a theory to talk about because that hasn't been tried. Just like communism hasn't been tried.
Yeah, if you look at anything, it wouldn't work. There's a reason. It's because if you take a bunch of somebody else's money, I mean, and you give it to other people, first of all, that's not moral. No, the poor person is not entitled to Bill Gates's money. Okay, that's just that's a logical fallacy in my opinion. But I'm sorry. I have a lot going through my head right now. Yeah.
So
But
let's say, hold on for a second. Let's say I have $6 trillion. I don't think there's any trillionaires on Earth yet, but let's pretend I'm a trillionaire. Okay, I'm sitting on $1 trillion, and you are sitting on $100.
I'm not
Right.
entitled to any of your money
Why should I have $1 trillion?
because you did something to make that. People in a capitalist society aren't robber barons. Like Jeff Bezos is a trillionaire. I'm pretty sure he might not.
It's not yet. He's probably close, but
I think he might. Maybe Amazon is worth $1 trillion.
yeah, the company, yeah.
Yeah, the company is worth $1 trillion. No, Jeff Bezos is probably worth like 100 billion. But anyways, what was the point I was trying to make? Let's take Amazon for example. I don't agree with Amazon not paying any taxes either. That's stupid. But Amazon, okay. Jeff Bezos, he had an idea and he created Amazon. I guarantee you have used Amazon before at some point, have you not?
I used Amazon today.
Okay, exactly. It's a great idea. People use it a lot. A ton of people benefit from it. It's not just Jeff Bezos going around and taking people's money. He had an idea. The idea was innovative, and he created something that a good part of our population uses on a weekly basis that makes our lives way more convenient. Jeff Bezos acquired that wealth by making an idea like that benefited everybody.
But he didn't do it on his own.
Okay, there's other people that have stockholders that have shares.
No, I'm not talking about shareholders. I'm not talking about stockholders. I'm talking about he did it on the backs of his workers.
Okay,
you can't have a pencil factory without people making the pencils.
Okay, let's take the pencil factory. So if the pencil factory goes under, what happens to the workers? They lose their jobs. Their labor is worth gunk, nothing. What happens to the guy who owns the pencil factory? He goes bankrupt and probably will lose a shit ton of money and possibly live in poverty if he doesn't already have money.
Like a pencil factory is only as good as the people making the pencils.
Okay, your point. They didn't invest any money into the company.
So why should they invest?
Okay, fine. You can invest in Amazon.
No, I don't mean. I mean cooperatives. Cooperatives work very well.
And small scale.
Where workers are part owners in the company.
Right, but I don't think that the government should force a company owner to have a worker cooperative if they don't want to. I don't agree with that. I don't
think anybody's forcing anything, but the government at this point, right this minute, is incentivizing people to hoard money.
How so?
Because they're giving them these tax breaks, and then they're not doing with the money that they ought to do. They're not reinvesting it. Excuse me.
Amazon puts like billions and billions of dollars back into like research and other stuff every year. Tesla
does pay their workers like $12 an hour.
Okay, it's a consensual relationship with the worker and the company.
No, it isn't. It isn't consensual. No, because
you can walk out at any time.
Yeah, and then not get paid.
Okay, that's their fault. That's not Amazon's fault.
Listen,
why should Amazon?
We have people who are seeking jobs instead of jobs seeking people.
That's not true.
We should have jobs fighting to get people instead of people fighting to get jobs.
Okay, there's like 3 million more jobs available right now. Okay, maybe not now, but as of before the coronavirus, there were 3 million more jobs available than people unemployed.
Yeah,
in the U.S.
Huh? We have an unskilled labor problem, definitely. Like there are way too many unskilled workers in this country.
Here's how I see it.
And automation is going to take away their jobs.
It might.
And then what do they do? Die?
No, I don't think they would. I mean, let's.
I'm being hyperbolic.
Let's cross that bridge when we get
say
there.
There's 100,000 unskilled workers.
Let's not talk about
no, because it's not hypothetical.
Yes, it is.
In 15 years, their jobs will be gone.
I would support government intervention in saying that, look, y'all can't do this because if it would burden all of those people like that, I mean, I don't think that the government has a right in saying, look, you have to pay these people this much. But like at some point, if it's like in the interest of the entire nation, like losing say 20% of our jobs, I mean, just due to automation, I think
it's not even hypothetical. In my lifetime, before you're 40 years old, 20% of the workforce will be replaced.
Yeah, and I think that there should be a little bit of government intervention to limit that as much as possible.
Limit the automation or limit them not having jobs?
Limit the automation.
I don't.
Why?
Automate the jobs that should be automated so that the people who are doing the unskilled work can do other work.
There will, well, yeah, there
and
would
then
be
train them to do other things.
there would be other work that comes available.
What?
I don't know. I mean, you look everything with automation. There's been automation increase recently, and the unemployment has been falling for like the last nine.
Do you know what it's the unemployment rate is kind of misleading.
Well, it has been falling.
Sure, but the underemployment rate has been rising.
What underemployment?
Underemployment means people who are working less than 40 hours or people who are working more than 2 jobs.
Okay.
In order to achieve that 40-hour goal, they're having to work 2 or 3 jobs, or they're working less hours than 40 or fewer hours than 40. In order to not be counted on the Department of Labor's unemployment statistics, you need only work 4 hours. 4. If you worked 4 hours this week, you're not unemployed.
Okay.
4.
I was still
whether that was paid work or volunteer work. If I went to a soup kitchen and I stood at a soup kitchen for 4 hours, I'm not unemployed.
Okay. I understand that can be misleading, but the unemployment rate has been falling.
Right, because people are stopped looking. If you run out of unemployment benefits, if you cap out of unemployment benefits, guess what? You no longer count on the unemployment statistics.
Okay.
Yeah, so the unemployment statistics
part of that
alone
are
a
lot of people. Okay, here's
it doesn't mean more people are working.
No,
that's not what it means.
It does. Listen. So since the Trump administration, about 4 million people have been lifted off of food stamps. Okay, I think that the reason why you see that
or kicked.
Probably a little bit of both. So
if you can lift people off of food stamps, great. But that's not what's really happening. A lot of people are getting literally booted.
I support that.
You support booting people who need food stamps off of food stamps?
I don't think that you should be able to remain on food stamps infinitely.
Who said anything about that?
Well, I mean, I think that there should be a time restriction.
Do you know the majority of people who receive food stamps are white Republicans in red states?
Okay, and I could care less whether they're Republican or they're communist. I don't think they should be able to drain taxpayer dollars for that long. I could care less what they believe politically. And I understand that most people that are homeless are white and men.
And Republican.
Again, I could care less if they were
communist. Kentucky is the largest user of SNAP benefits. Kentucky.
Okay.
It's also the poorest country in the state.
Poorest country in the state.
I'm not making that up. It's the poorest country in the state. And it is the
poorest country in the state.
Yeah.
Poorest country in the state. Think about that.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm sorry.
Listen. I worked all day, and it is 10 to 11.
I'm not trying to be a smart ass. That was just funny.
Yeah, whatever. I had a Joe Biden moment.
yeah, you did. All right, back to what we were talking about. that was funny though. All right. Yeah. Back again. I could care less if they were Republican, Democrat, communist, fascist, whatever. I think that there should definitely be a limit to time on food stamps. Also, okay, but going back to what I was saying about the food stamps. So as you see people that are going off of food stamps and going off of welfare, the reason why you're seeing unemployment go down and that other statistic you talked about. What was it called again? What was that? Underemployment go up was because. So when you have all these people coming off food stamps, people that are on food stamps usually aren't like the people that are working like corporate, like salary jobs. They're people that were going to work hourly. So the reason why you see the overall unemployment go down is because those people that are coming off of food stamps are getting jobs. But the reason why you see the underemployment going up is because those people that are getting jobs off of the food stamps are getting hourly jobs and they may not be working as much as the other people are. So that's why you see this number going down and this number going up. When in reality, that this number going up isn't necessarily a bad thing because you have all these people coming off of food stamps. Think about it.
Underemployment isn't a bad thing?
Well, no, I'm saying the reason why it's going up is because of you have all of these people coming off of food stamps and welfare and stuff like that. I would way rather have them working less than 40 hours than being on welfare and not working at all. You know what I'm saying?
The majority, over 50% of all people who receive welfare benefits work full time.
Okay.
Okay, SNAP benefits. Well, SNAP benefits.
SNAP
Let me be clear. Over 50% of people who receive SNAP benefits, and for those people who don't know, that means Supplemental Nutrition and Assistance Program or food stamps. Over 50% of all people who receive food stamps work full time.
Okay, so let's cut that number in half then. So 50%, that's still more than 2 million people
In
coming.
order to cut that number in half, we need to raise wages.
No, we don't. I don't think
If they're working full time, okay, if they're working full time,
wage.
if they're working full time and still require food stamps, what else would you propose? Have them work 3 full-time jobs?
No minimum wage.
That's not an answer to the question. How would you propose taking these people who work full-time, 40 hours a week, and still need food stamps?
There's probably a good portion of those people that take the food stamps and sell them to other people too for drugs.
You don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know that, but I'm just saying.
You just made that up. Food stamps is the least abused social program. It has the least waste.
How can you track that if somebody has a food stamp?
Because there's the government's job to track that.
How can the government monitor every food stamp transaction?
I didn't say they can monitor. I said it's the least wasteful. It is the least abused. I'm not saying it isn't abused. It is the least abused. I think there's like 2% waste.
Okay.
So of the 50% of people who are receiving food stamp benefits and work 40 hours, they require food stamps to subsist. How would you fix that? How would you get those full-time workers off of food stamps if they already work full-time?
No minimum wage.
Okay, well, that doesn't solve the problem.
Sure it does.
How does this solve the problem?
Look at Sweden. Sweden has no minimum wage.
They have strong unions. They have almost everyone is in a union in Sweden.
Okay, there's still no minimum wage.
You're right, but again, everyone is in a union. That just means the government doesn't say you must pay somebody this much. Everyone is in a union, which means they negotiate their salary with their unions and their employers. They negotiate their salary. They don't just go to a job and say, hey, you're going to get paid $7 or you're going to leave. That's not how it works. In Sweden, yes, and Finland, these countries, they don't. You're right. They don't have a minimum wage. They have a very strong labor force.
Yeah. Your point?
We don't have unions that are strong here because we have people on your side of the aisle trying to tear down unions.
I don't think to tear down unions.
Well, the Republicans definitely are against unions.
I'm not necessarily a Republican on everything, though.
I didn't say you. I said your side.
Yeah.
Republicans are definitely against unions.
Okay.
And collective bargaining.
But I think that if we had I think that if we got rid of minimum wage, and then I think that more unions would come.
They would have to. Otherwise, people would be homeless.
Not necessarily. They would create competition within the salaries.
For example, hold on. I'm a cook, right? And I just lost my job because, Corona.
I'm sorry.
No. So I got a temporary job at a warehouse.
Well, I'm still sorry to hear that you lost your job. That fucking sucks.
Well, I mean, so did 1.3 million Americans or New Yorkers. But no. So I mean, I was prepared because I kind of smelled things coming. So I was looking. I put my name into these temp agencies, but I am a temporary worker in a factory. I'm just a janitor now. But I make more money as a janitor than I made cooking.
Oh, well, that's good.
Well, here's why. Because it's a warehouse that has a strong union. A strong union. In fact, as a janitor, I get paid more than some of the production people. I'm not in the union yet, but after 90 days, I'll be in the union and I'll be a regular worker. But
yeah, and I mean,
there you can negotiate. Only in a union can you negotiate your salary.
Well, here's the thing about
without them, you're just saying, hey, this job pays $4 an hour. Take it or get out of here.
So here's like a common misconception about like the minimum wage, though. Let me actually look up the exact statistics from the Labor Bureau. How many people are really on minimum wage? Because the amount of people that are on minimum wage is that are over the age of 19 is very low, actually.
I got this. Okay, Google. What is the median age for minimum wage workers?
According to Bureau of Labor Statistics, Minimum wage workers tend to be young. Although workers under age 25 represented only about 1/5 of hourly paid workers, they made up about half of those paid the federal minimum wage or less.
So
In 2018, 1.7 million workers, 2% of all hourly paid workers earned wages at or below the federal minimum wage of $7.25. So 2% of the workers, or 2% of people that work in the U.S. are on minimum wage.
the federal minimum wage, because state minimum wages are often higher. Like here in New York, the state minimum. Okay, Google, what is the state minimum wage for New York?
According to NCSL, Washington, D.C. followed suit.
Oh,
enacting a law
Christ.
to raise the minimum.
What is New York State's minimum wage?
According to New York State, the Minimum Wage Act requires that all employees in New York State receive at least $11.80 an hour beginning December.
$11.80. So, I mean, your statistic is flawed because many, many, many states pay higher than the federal minimum wage.
Okay, your point.
You're using a flawed statistic. That's my point.
Not a flawed statistic. It's they get paid more than $7.25.
Right. You're using the federal minimum wage as the,
I understand.
Right.
$7.25.
New York is $11.80 right now.
Okay, for somebody that works at McDonald's, $11.80 is way too much.
Too much.
Yes. I don't think that a person flipping burgers deserves $11.80 an hour. I worked as a lifeguard this summer, like in the hot sun, and got paid like sitting out in the hot sun all day, 100-degree heat, like almost got heat stroke multiple times, and got paid $7.25. Okay, the guy that's working at McDonald's flipping burgers does not deserve $11.80.
Deserve. So they don't deserve to be able to support their family.
Okay, if you wanna get paid more than minimum, then learn a skill that is more valuable than minimum
You will
wage.
always need people flipping burgers. You
Okay,
will always need people
exactly.
picking up your garbage.
Okay, but if
So you're telling me the person picking up your garbage, which we're always going to need people picking up your garbage, even if everybody wants to,
can actually make a decent amount of money where
Right.
I'm from.
not here, but even they make about minimum wage. But even if, let's assume minimum wage across the country, every state was $7.25. It's a federal minimum wage. No one can survive on that. There are no states in which you can even get a 1-bedroom apartment on the federal minimum wage. So you're telling me that the person who picks up your garbage every single day or every week, which we're always going to need people to pick up your garbage. If everybody went to college, we would still need people to stock the shelves and pick up your garbage and flip a burger and drop fries. They don't deserve to have an apartment. They don't deserve to be able to afford an apartment.
Well, picking up garbage is a little bit different. That's a harder job.
I'm not talking about the job itself. I'm talking about the nature of being employed.
I'm talking
You're telling
about,
me that
I'm talking about
a person flipping burgers. I'll use your flipping burgers. The person flipping burgers doesn't deserve to be able to afford an apartment. You said deserve.
the person flipping burgers does not deserve $11.80 an hour. That's not that is a meaningless skill. Like all you're doing is flipping burgers.
They're providing a service to you.
Okay, it's a service that takes 2 brain cells off. You could train a monkey to flip burgers.
So train a monkey to flip burgers. I would love to see that. Not gonna lie.
Okay, but
you said the word. No. You said the word deserve.
Okay, somebody that has a skill as flipping burgers doesn't deserve. It's not worth. Their skill is not worth more than the federal minimum.
Who are you to say
And
that?
Okay, anybody can say that. It is not hard to flip burgers.
So go do it.
Okay,
Go get a job at McDonald's.
I'd rather. I'm not going to work at McDonald's. I'd rather work at HEB. Like that's like a grocery store next to me. But
Hold on one second. What? Clearly, do I sound done?
it's not. In my better opinion, it's just not worth it.
Well, that's not very moral, though, is it?
How is it not moral?
There's the morality in that. That says a living, breathing human being providing a service, working full time, doesn't deserve to have even an apartment.
Okay, McDonald's jobs aren't full time. Work 2 jobs.
What? There are plenty of full time workers at McDonald's.
Okay, the full time workers at McDonald's are usually like the managers. They don't really give out. I know a bunch of. I know a bunch of teenagers that work.
No. You work 2 minimum wage jobs. Fantastic. You got 2 minimum wage jobs that adds up. You have 20 minimum wage jobs that add up to 40 hours. A minimum wage job that is 40 hours cannot afford you a 1-bedroom apartment anywhere in the country. Nowhere in the country can you afford a 1-bedroom apartment on a 40-hour-a-week minimum wage job.
Learn a skill that's more valuable than minimum wage.
So you're telling me 30% of the country doesn't deserve to even have a place to live?
I'm saying that they should learn a skill that is more valuable.
Fucking evil.
It's not.
That's evil.
I'm sorry.
And that is why capitalism is evil. You say you get to decide who gets to live and die.
No, that is not it at all. Okay, that is a logical fallacy. Don't ever.
It isn't. You are literally saying people don't deserve to live. People don't deserve because they're stupid. Their skills are terrible. They have a bad skill or they have no skill. This is hey, that's not a skill. They don't deserve to even live.
If you can't live, okay, get a roommate. Get a couple roommates. Get a couple roommates.
You are an evil person.
Huh? Oh my God, this guy just left me. This guy just left me. Oh my God. Holy crap. Guys, the real Heisenberg walked out on a debate with me. Holy crap. I'm an evil person, guys. I believe in capitalism, therefore I am an evil person. Holy crap. But no, guys, honestly, if you wanna make more than minimum wage, learn a skill that is more powerful or that is more valuable than minimum wage. I mean, that's simple facts in my opinion. I mean, he can call me evil all he wants, but you know, I'm such an evil person just because I believe in capitalism. Okay, guys, one of y'all DM me on Instagram and you can join this. DM me on Instagram and you can join this right now. First person to DM me gets it. Guys, holy crap. He got so mad. I mean, yeah, if you rage quit in a debate like that, that's a loss. I'm sorry. It's a loss. Hold up. Somebody just chatted me. Okay, let me send this boy. I got guys, I'm getting a person from the Republican Hype House to join. Y'all better stay tuned. Holy crap. Oh, guys, that was so funny. Holy crap. Hold up. Let me send him this link right quick. I will get him in here for y'all. This is so funny, guys. That is a rage quit moment. I would definitely say that he won some parts of that debate. Like, for example, the food stamps one. Like, for the food stamps part, I didn't know that over 50% of people on food stamps were already working full-time jobs. So he surprised me there. But I think on most of the other stuff, I kind of got him on, like, with illegal immigration and, like, the military and stuff like that. All right, I'm sending this link to my friend for joining the Republican Hype House. Guys, I'm an evil capitalist. Holy crap. Okay, guys, don't leave. I'm getting my friend Jacob from the Republican Hype House on. Oh, God, that's so funny to me. Oh, guys, we are almost there. Y'all better not leave me. I just sent him the link, so the link. I'm an evil capitalist straight white male. All right, so I just sent the link to him. He should be on here in a fat second. So guys, ask me questions in the chat. Holy crap, guys. That was a very interesting debate. That took a funny turn. I mean, when you storm out of a debate like that, you know you kind of lost. Holy crap. Talk about what you think will happen with the coronavirus. I honestly think that this is going to be over within a month or two. Maybe not a month or two, 2 or 3 months. Okay, guys. He's setting up his computer right now so he can join us. Do you think he's going to run for president? Who? Hold device not connected.
Yo, what's good?
Yo, what's up, guys? All right,
Hey.
guys, this is Jacob. He is a member of the Republican Hype House. I'm sure y'all have seen
Good.
it before. So let's take some questions from viewers. Are you evil? No, I'm not evil. Who's trying to flip burgers? Well, Heisenberg thinks that people that flip burgers should get $15 an hour. I strongly disagree. Can I show off my room? Well, I'm kind of like hooked up to my laptop, so like that would be kind of inconvenient for me to like show y'all around my entire room. I have a room tour on my TikTok. I might need to do a new one though, for sure. What do y'all think should be done in action/awareness of human trafficking? I know it's a subject that is put under the rug a lot. Well, ICE apprehends 90% of all of the sex trafficking, all of the sex trafficking arrests that take place in America. 90% of it's done by ICE. So I think that we should definitely increase funding towards ICE so they can better do what they do best. Can you debate Joe Morris? I'm actually having Joe Morris on the podcast sometime next week. He's actually on it. He's
That's
actually,
T, bro.
yeah, it's going to be more of, I don't know if it'll necessarily be a 100% debate. I'm pretty good friends with Joe. I don't want what happened with Heisen to happen with Joe. But you know,
Dude, I'm still like in shock that he left. I was watching for like the last 30 minutes of it, and then all of a sudden he just like got out. And I was like,
you're
dude.
evil.
Yeah, I lost it. I was like, bro, because I've been texting like the Republican Hype House group chat this whole time because we've been like, dude, Nick's killing it, like blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden, dude, that was just too much. That was funny.
Oh my god, that's just funny, dude.
I mean, there's like like you guys both had some really good points, and it was a really good
Yeah.
conversation up until he got triggered and was like, he's like, you were an evil person. But like what you're saying made like perfect sense, I mean, I make minimum wage. I work like 3 jobs, and like I'm not complaining. I don't have a degree in anything. I don't like work super hard. I'm a host at a restaurant and a groundskeeper at a golf course, and then I'm in the military. So like, I mean, obviously that's a little more respectable than like hosting, but
yeah, the military is definitely a great thing for people.
No, definitely
100%. That is an amazing thing. Once you get out of the military, that'll help you get jobs later in life.
Dude, yeah, because I want to go into like the police force at some point. So
yeah, for sure.
That's what they all say. They're like the military.
Job to have for sure.
Definitely.
What do you guys think about Mitt Romney? He's not a real Republican. Mitt Romney would want nothing more than to make polygamy legal.
Better lighting. Hold up.
Mitt Romney wants nothing more than to make polygamy legal in the United States because he's a Mormon.
Yes. I mean, is it all that bad? No, I'm just kidding. But
guys, I ordered an actual mic that should be here by like Wednesday.
Oh, I have an actual mic. I probably should use that. But...
So y'all won't have to like plug it. So I won't have to like use this crappy headset mic for y'all anymore. Yeah, this should be a good time.
Anything for the boys, you know what I'm saying?
For the boys. I haven't monetized any of my videos yet though, so like y'all aren't having to watch ads or anything.
That's good.
I might do that in the future, but
but because we're conservative, it'll get taken, or well, not conservative, but like Republican, that stuff gets demonetized real fast. You look at Steven Crowder's channel.
Steven Crowder is a little more controversial than I am usually though.
That's true. Your content's been pretty like mellow in regards to
pretty mellow.
Peak lighting
About me evading ICE for the past 4 years. Illegal. Well, you should be deported. Sorry about it.
Wait, what? Nick, what do you think about ICE for the past 5 years because I'm illegal? Let me call him up right now. Hold up. Hey Siri, you know what to do.
Yeah,
Nick, what do you think about me? That guy keeps commenting that.
Talk about
His baby should die.
I'm finna like. Oh, I didn't mean to put that on the. This is right here. I kind of put it up there on accident. Whoops. Let me put this guy in time because he keeps commenting the same shit. You have the same Turtle Beach headset. Nice, dude. Awesome stuff. Nick, why do you be simming on TikTok? There are a few ladies on TikTok that I must simp for. I mean,
That's true.
how many genders are there? I mean, I believe there's 2 genders. We've always defined it as 2 genders up until
That's just basic biology too. Because I mean, you look at any book, it says there's an X and Y chromosome, and like people will be like, "Oh, sex is different than gender," but I don't see a difference personally.
Should I buy or sell stocks? Honestly, at this point, the stocks are going down a lot. I would wait a little bit to buy. You don't necessarily need to sell yours because they've already gone down so much. You're not going to really benefit much from it. But yeah, definitely wait a little bit to buy stuff because it's probably going to keep going down for a little while.
Yeah, stocks are not doing too well because of like the whole Corona thing. It's like taking everything down.
Yep. Hey, we can have up to 3 people on here at once. So one of y'all,
that's dope.
one of y'all DM me. Hold up, DM me for the podcast. You're a Republican hardcore 10th grader. All right, Ronnie Cohen.
Hey, that's my last name, dog.
Yo. All right.
Juicy, what's up?
Are you on a computer right now? Or on your phone?
Me?
Yeah, are you on your computer?
I'm on my computer.
All right, I sent him the link. He should be in here soon. I told him to use the computer. Where is Heisenberg? Heisenberg rage quit.
Dude, homie said
evil.
pause quit.
He called me evil because I believe in capitalism. Oh,
It just goes to show the tolerance of the left, you know?
dude, I gotta when I go back to this, I have to like get that clip and like edit it on my Instagram.
That's gonna be awesome.
Like post it on my TikTok too. That'd be so fun.
Yeah. Some right boys content right there.
You are evil.
Hold up.
I have like my friends watching it.
Or do you really? Nick, look at my DM to you from Tommy Price. Nick, write a book. Dude, write a book.
That's honestly not a bad
That'd be a very interesting book regardless of political opinion. I agree.
All right, hold up. This guy is in the process of joining. His name is Ronnie Cohen. Yeah, guys, I think I'm gonna have that as a thing from now on. Like once I get done like debating or just like talking to my normal person on this podcast, I will have somebody on that I will have a fan on that's in the podcast for sure. How tall are you? I'm 6 foot. Will you ever run for office? You know, honestly, I could see that in the future, possibly, maybe. We'll see.
I'd vote.
Why do you think gun laws should be super strict? Stats back that up. Canada, for example, 10 times people with over 25 times more homicides. Please explain. Well, you can all. Canada is a different example because Canada never really had as many guns in the first place. I mean, you have far more guns per capita in the U.S. So obviously, if you have far more guns, you're going to have more gun crime. I mean, that's just that, but that's not the whole point. The point, like, if you look at the UK actually banned. Bro, you're like breathing hardcore into your mic. All right, but okay. Anyways, I can combat that statistic. Like, if you're going to use another country, you can look at it. All right, I did not mean to put that on here. Whoops. How do I get rid of that? Hold up, that was from Major List. Get rid of that. No. Go away. Hold up. How do I retract that comment? Crap. Anyways, what I was saying, I will try and find that. But when I was talking about the UK basically they enacted strict gun laws, like banning handguns. And the decade following the handgun ban, their violent crime increased 70%. Like, you can't just look at homicide. You have to look at violent crime because homicide is a big part of it. Yes, if you have more guns in a country, obviously you're going to have more gun homicide. But
there's a lot that factors into it.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's not just about homicide. It's about others. It's not just about gun homicide. It's about other types of violent crime. All right, this guy, he's taking a little while to join. If he doesn't join within the next... Oh, he's in here. Oh, wait, hold on.
Yo, what's up?
Yo,
what's going on, dog?
Yo, it's good.
Yo, how are you, man?
I'm good. Love your videos, both of you.
Yo, thank you. Hold up. I'll ask you my list of questions that I normally ask people on the podcast. I think that we can do that each time I have a fan on here. Alrighty, so Ronnie, what's your name is Ronnie, obviously. How old are
Yeah.
you? Where are you from? And what made you interested in politics?
I'm 16 from Pennsylvania, and I mean, I go to a school that's pretty much just all liberal. So,
You like
like,
making the snowflakes cry?
yeah, I mean, I look at the other side. Like, and I started looking up, and I was always confused why other people had like no other views. So I started like doing some research, and that just got me into politics.
So, like, do you post any political content on TikTok?
No, not yet. I mean, I might though. I'm not sure. I don't really use TikTok.
So I take it you're a conservative.
Yeah.
So, out of all of Trump's, policies, who do you, which ones are your favorite and why? Or just which one is your favorite?
I love the wall. I mean, I think it's a great idea, regardless of if you're Republican or Democrat. I mean, it's just something like essential.
Hold up, I want to see if this Heisenberg guy blocks me. No, he didn't block me. Wait, were you watching that part?
Yeah, that's crazy. He raised it.
I'm evil because I believe in capitalism.
Oh my gosh, communism.
Oh, for sure. So what is one thing that you admire about the political party opposing your views?
Oh, is this a question for me?
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that?
You can answer.
What? Can you repeat it?
What is one thing that you admire or agree with the political party opposing your views on?
Oh, climate change for sure.
Really?
Yeah, I agree.
So you think that, like, we need the Green New Deal?
I wouldn't say the Green New Deal. I mean, I feel like it's too expensive. There's other things that I feel like there's definitely other ways that we can help combat climate change, but I definitely think that we need to do something about it.
Well, what would you suggest doing?
I don't really have like a plan set out yet, but I mean, like, I guess I'm always looking if someone in Congress will like try and pass something, but.
So what do you think that Biden's chances are of beating Trump in a general election?
I don't think that he will beat Trump, but there's a lot of people that are swinging towards Trump now, and I don't think he would beat him, but there's definitely a possibility. I mean, with this coronavirus thing, I think it could affect some of the people that are undecided still, sadly.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the coronavirus?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like, there's nothing to. I mean, I think it'll be over in like a few months. I don't think it'll take so long. Like, if we're just like lowering the amount of people that get it by self-quarantining everybody, then I feel like we should get rid of it pretty soon. But
I gotcha.
Let's hope for the best,
How do you feel about Trump's response to the virus so far?
I mean, I feel like he should have taken action a little more earlier, but I like what he's doing, and I think he's doing it well.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Jake, what about you?
I think there should have been like more preventative stuff, because it's like we already knew that it was like super contagious, right? And I think more should have been done to prevent that from happening instead of waiting for something to be happening. Like I live in Illinois, so JB Pritzker is putting us on like a lockdown tomorrow, which is basically gonna be for us like, ow. Like, we can only really leave our houses to like go to the hospital or go to like essential places like stores if we need to get like groceries or something like that, which is what should have happened sooner. But a lot of like the problem is like people our age and younger are like, oh, it's not a big deal, and they're being like, there's lots of ignorance in it, and that's why it's spreading so much, is because like people aren't taking it seriously,
Yeah.
And it's something that needs to be taken seriously, because this is a pandemic, and it's not going to go over. It's not going to end if people are just like screwing around and like not taking it seriously,
I got you. Alrighty, guys. Well, I want to thank y'all for coming on to help me in this, but it's been almost 2 hours, so that was definitely longer than my other past.
Wow.
Yeah, hour and 53.
Look at that.
So, guys, I think that I'm going to end this podcast for tonight. I want to thank everybody that tuned in and watched, and I want to thank y'all too for joining me. Too bad that Heisenberg,
Maybe
Too bad he
another
left, God.
time,
I'm a
right.
capitalist, therefore I'm evil by definition. But
right.
you know,
Yeah,
I want to
that
thank y'all
works.
for coming on, and I want to thank everybody for watching. So I hope y'all have an amazing night and an amazing week, and I hope nobody gets the coronavirus.
Yeah,
All
that
right,
was
bye
fun.
guys.
See ya.
Signing off.
Wash your hands.